Welcome back to Ordinal Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. What is up, guys? We have another amazing show for you guys today. Today, we're bringing you 100x Shaman. You know him by another name on Twitter, but YouTube won't like us for saying it. But we got a really good show. We're going to get into his background. We're going to get into his crypto journey. We're going to get into the Benjies, man, which are actually pretty amazing. Can't really get into that. See a lot of PFPs with the Benji on it, so can't wait to get into the everything with that. And then we're gonna get into some TA stuff, so that should be really fun. He's really gonna break us down what he thinks is going to happen with Bitcoin next, so we can kind of get a feel for what's going to happen with ordinals. When you see the big guy move, you know you'll have an idea what to do with your ordinals. So we're gonna get into all that. So without further ado, let me bring in my partner, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
Good morning, GM.
Good morning. Good morning. So it's Sunday morning for us today. We talked about having some TA analysts when we had Chris IMSO. He did a great job. He kind of really showed us, told us a lot, and then he was right about almost everything. So I think potentially we could have the same thing happen with Shaman here.
Yeah. Shaman's a great guy. He's been in the community for a while. I remember I first met him in like one of our, I want to say it was like one of our like first like 5 spaces or something. He jumped in and kind of explained the Benjies and a little bit of his experience. And then I got to know him through the base community and just really down to earth dude that knows his TA. And so, yeah, I'm excited to kind of, I haven't heard like in depth of his background in terms of, you know, crypto and all that stuff. So I'm excited to hear that. And then excited to learn from his TA session later on today.
Definitely. And he has a space, I think, like I want to say every morning he does, with a lot of TA guys in there. And I'm not a big TA guy. I don't trade with leverage. I kind of just buy and hold. But it's nice to hear like their ideas and like what they're thinking about the market and stuff, which really helps because these guys really study charts. So I'd like to do that. And if you guys are interested, look out for his spaces most mornings. But without further ado, let's bring in the man himself. Shaman, welcome to Ordinal Revolution, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. How we doing?
Good,
man.
Thanks for joining. Happy Sunday. Thanks for joining us so early.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So like on the show, we like to really dig into people's backgrounds. If you kind of give us your background, maybe before crypto, that would be awesome.
Well, without getting too specific, I mean, I was just total normie. But I got into crypto in 2017. Fairly early that year, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and he's like, "I got this, this company this project I'm working at. I think it'll be a good investment." He tells me a little bit about Ethereum and how it had just broken like $100, I think, and that was like a big deal. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, man. And so like I put a little bit of money into that, didn't really think much of it, and then about 6 months later, it had ballooned up to a pretty decent amount in the 5 figures, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And like I'd only put in like a few $100s, so that kind of caught my attention. And I had some other friends who had put in thousands of dollars, so they were up like in the 6 figures, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta figure out how to catch up with these guys. And so that's kind of what got me into exploring trading to begin with. And yeah, I sort of just took to it like a duck to water. And I started, I didn't really know much about charts. I didn't really even care about TA at the time. I was more like, what's the use case? Thinking about like the fundamentals and like, oh, I could see that being used for like whatever different projects. And, in 2017, it was kind of, I was lucky in the sense that you kind of couldn't be wrong for most of that year. If you bought into something and just held it, you did all right. But I just kind of got a feel for like the normal ranges of like, I don't know, 20 or 30 of like sort of the top coins. And I just started trading them like when they would go, below the sort of normal price range that I would see, I would buy them. And when they went above it, I would sell them. And I just kind of flipped back and forth, and I did pretty well. And then in early 2018, I actually got I got a chance to work at a crypto company, basically just as like an analyst, accountant type thing, help them with like the custodial side of stuff, like paying out tokens to employees and stuff like that, more like operations type stuff. But that sort of got me out of the normal employment into sort of crypto, and then yeah, over the past, so I guess it's been, if it's 23, it's what's 6 years. So yeah, so over the past 6 years, I went into business for myself, doing some consulting type stuff for different projects, and then just in the past year, I just started to really grind on the Twitter side of things, trying to sort of make a I guess for lack of a better word, like an influencer type of persona. It was kind of more as an experiment than anything, to be honest, and it just kind of took off. I just was just sharing my TA and stuff, and following different coins, and started to get more opportunities after like a few months of that and gaining some traction. I started to get opportunities as like advisor on different projects and shit like that. And sorry, sorry for swearing. But yeah, and then I got into Ordinals really kind of as a fluke. Like it was, I was on my friend Shiny D's Spaces. Like he would have me on just to like do a quick market review before his show. And Tendy, the topic of the spaces that day was Ordinals, and Tendy from the Bitcoin Frogs, it was like at their height, or their first height at least.
I was about to say, because I think they're at their height right now.
Right. He happened to be the guest on there, like the main guest, and yeah, it really just what he was saying at the time, it really resonated with me. Like I wasn't really too into NFTs prior to Ordinals, like at all. Like I dabbled a little bit in the Ethereum side. I didn't do well. I did like okay, because I was late to the party though. Like I came, it was like late 2021, and I found like an old hardware wallet with some ICO coins that were like now worth a few grand. I'm like, okay, I'll use this to mess around with NFTs, and like I did okay for a little bit, but then I'm like, okay, now it's time to level up, and I basically bought the top, trying to buy a bunch of rare stuff with the profits I had from the initial flipping. But anyways, yeah. So, but when Tendy was on that Spaces, and he was talking about like Ordinals and how, and just sort of what makes them different from NFTs, sort of the permanence, immutability of it, the fact that they're on Bitcoin. And then, there was one phrase that he said, like scarce digital real estate, that really was like the light bulb. And I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And I could see the clear value prop, the more that I looked into it. I mean, just like the biggest thing to me, beyond just like the the immutability and the actually being on chain with the data, or the files, the art, whatever, is the incentive to miners long term. I mean, we're seeing it now with the crazy fees, right? It appealed to me at the time. I'm not loving it too much right now, trying to move Bitcoin around, but a common question, people who aren't into crypto, if they get far enough to understand, the block reward and the halvings, and the fact that eventually there will be no more Bitcoin to mine, they're like, okay, but when there's no more Bitcoin coming out, why would anybody keep mining it? And the answer was always fees. But until now, that didn't seem like that was really enough of a value prop. But we're seeing it now, with these crazy fees, and the fact that we've had multiple blocks where miners are making more than the block reward just on the fees. So I think it's it's pretty exciting. Although, like we were talking right before we went on, it can be frustrating if you've got a bunch of UTXOs split up. Like if you've been, like, let's say you've been dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin every week and doing what you're supposed to do to be safe and putting a little bit of Bitcoin in a hardware wallet every week, and then now you go to move it. It's going to cost you a lot of money in fees just to consolidate those UTXOs and move it. So it can be there's some sort of some negatives to it that I'm seeing now. And I'm curious to see what solutions come up, because I know there's going to be something, you know what I mean? Some way to fix this stuff.
Awesome.
100%.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think issue as long as the focus is still here in terms of where we've come from, which was the main people that were focused on Bitcoin weren't focused on really building on issues, but now that group has grown in terms of like the people that want to make Bitcoin better. I think that issues are actually opportunities now versus before. Issues were just stagnant, that like they were like, okay, we don't need to fix this. Bitcoin, there's nothing wrong with it. Now it's a different approach. But yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that was a big thing that I noticed when I really started getting into like the Ordinals community, was like the amazing amount of like developer talent that was really flocking to this chain to try and just build new cool stuff on top of it. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how things flesh out over the next couple months to 2 years, to see what sort of more innovations happen.
Yeah. Okay. So you're sort of known for your TA. Like how'd you get started with it? And like what's your experience?
Well, honestly, I mean, so yeah, like in 2018, the strategy of basically no TA and just sort of believing in the use case or mission of a project, I quickly learned that was not necessarily the best way to go about things, once everything was just in a constant downtrend. And so I got into a couple different communities on like Discord and Telegram, and they were just like educational trading communities. And I just learned from a few different people, and really sort of, I had the education, my tuition in liquidation emails and stuff from BitMEX. But yeah, it was just I really devoted that whole bear market from 2018 to 2019 to really just sort of getting the reps in, is for lack of a better term. I mean, just I learned by doing. So it was kind of like I took a lot of these principles that I learned from just a few people, and just kind of through trial and error and observation, I kind of made them my own a little bit. But yeah, it was really just a matter of just doing it every single day for a number of years, and just having that screen time in those reps to sort of recognize patterns, and then the reps to sort of learn how to manage it and realize you're not going to be right every time. Because I mean, that's the real thing. The TA is great, right? The TA, like, it's nice to draw a cool chart, and it looks good. You make a prediction, you're right. You feel smart, great. But in terms of actually making money, it's execution and risk management that really makes the difference. It's like it's the more boring part of it. You know what I mean? Making those losses cheap is really where the profit lies, even though that's not really what most people are thinking about. They're thinking about the big gainer. It's more about keeping yourself in the game. It's sort of like it's analogous to like playing poker, where like you just got to have the chips to be there when you get the opportunity, and otherwise you'll just miss it. And so
that's a great analogy, actually, with poker. Being patient, minimizing your losses, knowing whenever you've lost, and just get out. there's a couple big accounts on YouTube and stuff that are known for trading. Is there any of those that you kind of, I guess, resonated with and learned from, like the Eric Crowns, the Mitch Rays, those types, or did you kind of
No,
develop it through smaller groups?
yeah, more just through smaller groups and some one-on-one stuff. It's more I've more developed it through just relationships with different traders and just sort of bouncing ideas off people. And that's sort of that's sort of what I like about those daily spaces that we do, where we have, there's like my partner after I was investing who comes on. I mean, we're bouncing ideas all the time, but then there's other people who come on, and it's great to have sort of a meeting of the minds. And sometimes we all agree, but it's better when we don't. That's when it really gives you sort of an edge, when you're like, oh, okay, I didn't look at it that way. I'm not too big on YouTube videos for trading and stuff. I don't know if I think I just have a kind of a short attention span. So like, I'll start watching a video and I'll just get distracted by something else and not pay attention. So it's more like the one-on-one stuff and learning hands-on from other people and just from myself, to be honest.
Gotcha.
So let's go back. So you're in Ordinals, and you're kind of like, doing your thing over here, paying attention, and then you have an idea to create your own project. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so this was actually funny, because it wasn't initially going to be like my project. I was advising on this Binance Smart Chain project, and they wanted to branch out into NFTs on Binance Smart Chain. And I'm like, I was opposed to that idea to begin with. And then when I got back from this like orange pill session spaces that I was on, I'm like, well, you guys want to do NFTs? If you want to do NFTs, we should do it on Ordinals, and I'll take the wheel on this or whatever. And so we found an artist. They paid for the artist for the artwork, and I got in touch with Gamma and got us to like launch the first mint, and then it totally flopped. It didn't go anywhere, and so they were pretty frustrated. But I was like committed and wanted to keep going. So I reimbursed them for the artwork, and I just took over the project pretty much right at the beginning. And then, what happened really, because I mean, initially it was just like their branding was a $100 bill with like the pixelated glasses and the deal with it meme.
Yeah.
So that's where we get the Benjies artwork from initially. But then when things sort of flopped out and it didn't, I think we minted like 40 or something out of at the first initial launch. And I talked to Knox from the Skull X project. Because at that point I was just like on the Ordinal spaces every day. I was meeting all these different cool people. Like, it was so welcoming. It was great. Like, I was talking to all these different founders and people giving me advice. And I talked to Knox. I'm like, what do I do, man? I'm so frustrated. I thought this was going to, mint out right away, and this would be great, whatever. And he's like, I just think you rushed it, man. There's nothing. He's like, honestly, I would just pause the mint and just focus on, figuring out what sort of community you want to build or whatever. And then it sort of dawned on me. I'm like, well, what can I actually offer beyond just the artwork? Because initially it was just like, okay, it's going to be a PFP collection, the art's on chain, that's good enough. And I was just like, oh, well, what can I bring to the table? I'm like, oh, well, I can, help people learn to do what I do. And that sort of became that as soon as I did that, like I did I think I did the first, I did some random, I was either on a space or I might have opened up a space randomly. And I'm like, I'm screen sharing in the Discord. And I, as soon as I did that, I was screen sharing the Discord and just started charting stuff like on demand, like as people requested me to look at stuff. And all of a sudden I was getting great feedback like right away, like from Knox and from some of these other Knox and Prism and some of these founders that you guys know through the base community and stuff. But like that day, like Knox, like right as I was doing that, Knox like hit me up in DMs like for me to inscribe him a Benji right then, and then he like shared it. Then like some SkullX people came in the community, got a couple, and it was like very clear positive feedback that like, okay, this is an idea for a community that actually resonates with people. And so that's really taken shape. And finally in the past, I'd say 2 months, it's really started to pick up where we have like a nice organic community. There's people, myself and others sort of hanging out in the Discord, video chat. I'll just sort of leave my chart up on the screen and I'll be doing other stuff. And someone comes in, I hear them talking and I'm like, hey, what's up? We'll take live trades in there, whatever. I'll break down, not just chart stuff for them, but like show them exactly like how I'm doing it and what I'm looking at. Cause like some of the TA stuff I do is, it's like I'll do like the Fibonacci retracement, but I do it a little different than other people do it. I'll use it a little different. So like, I'll just show people like how I do it and they can, either use that as like, okay, here's something to keep in mind. This is his idea, or they can like try and learn and copy me. But like, with trading, the biggest thing is, it's the market's going to do what it's going to do. It's really you against yourself and your own psychology. Like, cause that's where like all that risk management stuff comes in. Cause it's like, you're just trying to ride the wave. If you're one way or the other, if you're shorting, you're longing, whatever, it's like, you could literally like flip a coin and say long or short. But if you cover yourself with the right risk management, you can be profitable. It's not a crystal ball, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of an edge. There's definitely patterns and stuff you can sort of see happening ahead of time, but people tend to get too caught up in thinking that people have to be right all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's always funny on Twitter. If you make a chart and you happen to be wrong, people I remember like a month ago or something, I had like opened a short and like in the first 5 minutes, price went beyond my short by like, 0.5%. And I'm immediately getting comments like trying to troll me, being like, you're an idiot. I'm like, I'm still not stopped out. Like, give it a few minutes. And then it turned my way. I was right. That's not even the point though. But it's like, yeah, I mean, you're literally taking a guess, an educated guess.
Yeah.
It's not about the forecast as much as it is about the discipline. Yes.
And the execution is where all the profit lies,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
these
awesome.
These Benjies are really cool. I'm in Philly, so like Benjamin Franklin is like huge here, so it's pretty cool that's my first reaction was, because there's so much, Benjamin Franklin. I think he's one of the mascots, I think the soccer team or something. So yeah. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's the Benjies.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've been having fun with them. I mean, I've initially I had the full collection of it. But as we sort of started to mint out more, because I've done the mint and it's been a really drawn out process. I did the initial gamma mint that sort of flopped at like 44 pieces. And then when I started noticing how high the fees people were paying, so it was like a $15 mint, but people were paying like $45-$50 through gamma. And I'm like looking at like how much it would cost me to inscribe myself. And I'm like, this isn't right. So I stopped. When I paused that, I started offering OTC and I would just inscribe them myself and send them to people. So that was like this private thing through like, Google Forms. People would fill it out and send me the Bitcoin. I would do it. And then I got a mint page set up so people could, because like once the steam ran out of that, because the Google Forms, it was like only people who knew me and trusted me would do that. So that sort of ran out of steam too after another 50 or so. And then I did, and then I got like a good mint page built, and that worked really well until the mempool spiked, and then there was a bunch of Benjis stuck in the mempool for like 5 weeks, and then I
Oh
inscribed,
man.
and then I inscribed. So like when they finally cleared, then I inscribed like 100 something myself and just dropped them on Magic Eden, and then those sold. And then since that happened, I've just been gradually, just sort of, I've been getting new traits done, and doing new artwork just to sort of keep it all interesting, and working in different exotic sats, and different rarity through the artwork in the collection too, and just sort of gradually inscribing them and listing them or selling them OTC. Like I've done a few auctions, and stuff like that, but I'm not like, at this point we've got 550 something, I think, that are on chain now, and I've got a bunch stuck in the mempool right still. But I'm less concerned with selling them all, than I am with just like getting them on chain, because it's been interesting, because I don't want to screw over current holders by just like inscribing a bunch and flooring everything, because like that'll just create people racing to the floor if they want to exit or need liquidity or whatever. That's going to work against everybody. So like I just sort of get them on chain. I'll list a couple. I'll let like the community know, like, if you like these, DM me and we can just like do it. Like we'll do it like through Magic Eden, but like just send me an offer or whatever. And it's been pretty good, actually, just sort of doing it in these different ways. I mean, it's not the way most projects do it, and but it's the way that it's gone so slowly has actually been really good, in my opinion. I'm happy about it, because if everything had gone as I wanted it to, and we minted it all out back in June, in one go, there wouldn't be any exotic sats metas baked in. There wouldn't be all these new traits. I wouldn't have done the dual inscriptions. There's a lot of like interesting different levels within the collection at this point, that I think will be very valuable in the future for speculation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different sort of metas baked into it that different people might think have more value than others. Like some people love the sort of more modern art where they they've got like tattoos and they look kind of like thugged out or whatever. Some people like the really plain ones that just sort of look like old. They just look like Benjamin Franklin. And some people are really into like the dual inscriptions or the different exotic sats and stuff. So I'm trying to, coming at it as a trader, and thinking about it in terms of free market. Like I know that you need collectors, but you also need flippers, for these things to like stay relevant. You need the volume. You need people to actually speculate on it. And I'm not like, I try not to get caught up in the floor price, because it's kind of like whatever. People need money. People need to exit. People, I get it. I get it. If you buy into something and within a couple of days it's not mooning, and you're looking around and everybody else is making bags elsewhere, I get that you want to just like rotate your capital elsewhere. So I try not to get too caught up in it, even though it does bother you sometimes when you see people just making stuff that doesn't make sense to you, making decisions that don't make sense.
Yeah, for sure. And first of all, I think the Benjies definitely have like a special place in the ordinal space, because you took your collection and you experimented with it, because maybe it was because it didn't mint out right away, like you said, and then you had opportunities to kind of just like think outside of the box. And because of that, like, you were one of the first people to do dual inscription or reinscription and educate others in that. So I commend you for doing that, because some people, like, there's a project I'm in, right, where the founder it got slow and he just left, right? And so people that stick around and stay through the hard times are the ones that definitely are here for the right reasons and connect with the community. So I commend you for that. Second thing I want to say is that I think Bitcoin Ordinals saved the digital asset marketplace, or like market in general, because it added like so much more collectability traits that had nothing to do with the actual project itself, but more of a standardized, like the way Bitcoin Ordinals works, right? Adding, like, making it more rare through the chain itself, right? And my family has like collectible experience, so I actually see. And I think your collection, doing these one-offs and stuff, if you can consolidate the whole collection together as like one big collection, and those rare ones are in there, man, I think that could go a long way.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like I think that it's interesting, right? The Ordinals does have a lot more layers to it in terms of the collectability, between the inscription numbers, cursed inscriptions, the different exotic sats. There's a lot more than just like, oh, there's this one rare trait, like in the artwork or whatever it is. It's really interesting. And like, even like with the exotic sats, like I find those so interesting because you could kind of imagine all sorts of different cool storytelling things people can do with stuff that, calling them rare sats. Like some of them are rarer than others, but it's hard to really consider things rare when they're in the millions or trillions in supply. But at the same time, I like the exotic sats more for like the storytelling aspect of it. But like you could find, there's been so much interesting stuff in Bitcoin history. If you can find the satoshis that are linked to the ranges that are linked to certain historical events, and you can somehow make that make sense with whatever artwork you're doing, it's pretty cool in terms of the storytelling aspect of it. Like I did one. I looked up. I'm doing this. I've been working on this like limited trait drop, and I wanted to do different exotic sats for each one of them. There's only like 8 of them, and so I looked up, some numerology numbers for Benjamin Franklin, and then I went and I just like found a palindrome that had those numbers. And I'm like, this is a good one to use. And it's like it's not like a special, it's not like a super special or super expensive Satoshi to use, but it makes sense for that piece. You know what I mean? So I find that stuff pretty cool in terms of the collectability aspect.
For sure. Yeah, man.
All right, do we want to jump into some TA and see where Bitcoin's headed?
Yeah. One more last question about the thing for what's the max supply going to be? If you
2,500 if,
Okay.
if I can ever get them all on chain. Yeah, but yeah, 2,500 was supposed to be the full supply from the beginning, and I didn't want to be one of these projects that just sort of gives up and caps it. Although I might not have a choice if fees don't chill out.
I mean, you'd be paying way more than floor and fees easily. So
I know, man. That's what's wild, right? I was saying that, like, when fees were at half of what they are now, I was letting people in the community know, I'm like, listen, these Benjies are going to be a little bit more expensive, because I inscribed a lot of them at like 2 and 3 sats fees. My only regret is I didn't have all of the artwork ready, because like I've been doing them sort of like one by hand, just with the new traits. Like rather than just generating it, I have all the layers, and I just sort of stack them and try and like put them together so they look cool. To put like, it's more labor intensive, the least efficient way to do it, but I like the end result of it. So my only regret is I didn't have as much artwork ready when the fees were that low. So I was trying to take advantage and going as fast as I could when the fees were that low. And now I'm just like kicking myself that I didn't have another, couple hundred ready to just at least get on chain. But
sure.
We'll see what happens.
All right, man. Take us through your let's get in your TA stuff, dude. I'm excited for this. I'm really curious about where Bitcoin's headed, man. Like, so we had this run up from 24,000 all the way up to about 46, and now we're kind of sitting around 42. If you can take us through that.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me clear this chart a little here. So this is This is just a 3-day chart. This is like, excuse me, 3-day chart is like my favorite time frame. And I mean, this, we're at a pretty significant resistance here, but it seems to be like this is kind of like the where I would expect it to want to go, like 45, 46, 47 at least, right? But then the interesting thing is if we break this high at 48, there's really not too many levels above it in terms of resistance. Like just these levels that we're at now, I mean, above basically 40K, we don't have that much price history. It's just this here, right? And it's all these volatile swings. So even, I mean, we're seeing it already, right? If you look at these daily candles, they're all like, or these 3-day candles, they're like, 7%, 5%. They're pretty significant moves once we're above 40K, and we could still just stay consolidating between 40 and 44 for a while. But one thing, I mean, I posted this the other day using my fibs. It was kind of a troll, but at the same time, it's a legit setup. So there's the possibility here, like this would be like using the fib retracement as a short setup, right? And let me turn this magnet off here. Let me see if I can get this working. So this would be basically where we would look for a short, where we topped, and the target for it would be down here from 9K to 14K.
I saw that. Yeah, I remember that now.
And I mean, grain of salt, because it doesn't have to go there, right? Like this is a Fibonacci retracement sort of theory or method, whatever you want to call it. And basically the idea is, you have a move. So it's from like this high at 48K down to this low at 17.4 or so. So you have that move, and then you use the retracement tool to try and find an area that's like about 80% retracing that move. And that would be your entry to sort of keep going in that direction, right? So that's the basic idea of it. But it doesn't necessarily have to go to the target. Like this like midpoint line at like 30K, it could just go there and bounce hard, keep going, and like totally invalidate any idea of this target. And I mean, that seems more realistic, right? But there are some reasons to think it could possibly go that low. Like there's like the 2019 high of it was like 13.8K, I think. It never got retested. Like we just blast through it. Typically you go through a level, you want to see it like break and then get retested. Like just, this green line, for instance, we came up above it, tested it, came down, came up above it, but like tested it for support and then eventually broke through it. But like you want to see like a level get, for like a healthy chart, it doesn't have to go this way, but you typically want to see like a resistance level get broken through and then come back for a test and then sort of confirmed as now support. So like the fact that never happened with the 2019 high has always been sort of in the back of my mind as a potential bottom that we could see just a real gnarly wick to on some black swan event. There's also, I think there's like a CME gap at about 12K, I think. But that seems totally crazy, right? But like a couple of weeks ago, it seemed crazy to be saying 48, 50K. So things can change pretty quick, and all of a sudden what seemed crazy seems very plausible. So I don't necessarily think this is going to happen, but I mean, there's a lot of reasons beyond just TA for me to think, we're possibly at like a short-term top at least. Like even just like the simple, these moving averages here, these are EMAs, the 12 and the 26, and like on the 3-day and the higher time frames, a lot of times you can see it'll seem to come out of nowhere, but you'll get like a wick down into them, and it'll just sort of confirm that as support and then continue its trend. But I mean, this bottom one is at like 37K, and a wick down to there would totally send people in a panic, but it could just bounce there and that'd be it. And that's honestly more what I'm expecting than, a drop from here to 14K. 37K, we would still be in an uptrend. It would shake out a lot of people because just on sentiments alone, I mean, it's super frothy. People have been able to, kind of long their longs for a number of weeks now. I think we haven't really had, I guess we had like an 8% drop from 44 to like 40K. And that was like a pretty good shakeout. But, typically in a bull market, you'll get these 20 to 30% dips that totally make everybody panic. But then it just resumes its uptrend, and it's healthy. You want to see that, you know what I mean? It's
healthy for the market makers.
well, it's healthy.
I think we lost you.
Yeah, so you want to see those corrections. It's healthy for the price action for continuation upwards. If you just get a blow off top, that's when you get trend reversals and stuff is just it won't keep going in the direction you want. You want to see. I mean, even if we just hang out here, basically from 40 to 44K, it could just stay sideways up in that 10% range and chop people up and drive people nuts. And I mean, that would be great for, the altcoin markets. They'll probably do really well if Bitcoin can just sort of stay above 40K. But yeah, I mean, the levels to watch really are like 46 to 48K as a potential local top if we get there. And then 36, 37K, I think, is probably going to be a nice buying opportunity. I mean, for us to break through the 48K level, which is pretty significant, I feel like we need to get a nice drop down first. But I could be totally wrong. I mean, we just keep grinding up towards that, keep knocking away and eating away at that resistance. And then, like I said before, there's really not much above that between this high and the all-time high. It's just there's no significant, we've had these little sell-offs here, but really above this high here at 48K, the next plausible resistance is really all the way up at all-time high, to be honest.
Oh man.
Like it's pretty crazy. I mean, there's only a few levels here. Like when you're looking at this, it's like I said, there's so limited. It's like, 52, 48, maybe this high, like just shy of 60. And then you're really, it's like, there's just these huge gaps where there's not really much price action to make you think that this is a significant resistance area. So 48K is really the big level to keep an eye on. If that breaks, it's all-time high kind of
next.
I don't want to say guaranteed, but it kind of seems that way,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just I'm expecting kind of, go down to 37, maybe keep just sort of messing around sideways for a bit, and then eventually we'll get that. But it probably will take. I'm not one of these people who expects new all-time high before the halving. I feel like I see too many people thinking that, and the majority is not gonna be right. But like,
yeah,
But you know, who knows? I mean, the ETF, it's hard to really, it's hard, you know, the meme of you know, this time's different. This time actually might be different because, you know, there's a lot happening. I mean, between the halving, ordinals, basically making the fee, if fees keep up the way that they do, the halving almost doesn't even matter because miners are just making a killing as it is. You know, the ETF, you look at what happened when gold got their ETF approval, it just went absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It could be this time is different, you know, but you know, the one thing I've been thinking about is miners making all this money right now on fees, right? Miners are really the supply. They're the main sellers, you know. So if I'm a mining company and I'm making crazy amounts of fees right now in Bitcoin, and I know that within 6 months, these current fee rates may or may not keep up, but I've got this nice war chest that's building up of Bitcoin on these fees. But I also know that when the halving comes, my subsidy is going to be cut in half. It would be pretty smart for them to sell off a lot of the profits they're making right now while price is high before they know that what's coming in, because they don't know if the fees are going to keep going this high right after the halving. The one thing they know is that the subsidy they get in each block is going to be cut in half. So in terms of making sure they can keep the lights on in their rigs running, they might be incentivized to sell off a lot of this supply that they're getting right now. As counterintuitive as that might seem, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you're thinking of it, because I mean, I have no idea how it works, how they manage it, but I know that like they have to prepare for the next year or more, just to keep operational costs up. So like they're getting a ton of Bitcoin right now. Price is high. It's just sort of hanging out up here. You know, the difference between their runway to keep things running at the price it is now compared to if we get a 20-30% drop, it's a big difference, you know? So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, the last halving, we got a big drop right before. Yes, the catalyst was the COVID crash or whatever. But then even after that, it took like another 6 months almost for us to actually break the previous all-time high and really get trucking. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel, just based on the sentiment alone and how much money's being thrown around, it seems pretty dangerous right now to be getting overly bullish, and maybe a little premature to be thinking we're in full bull market swing. That's my unpopular opinion, but
Gotcha.
you know.
So I have a question. So, what do you think is going to like happen, like let's just say long term, like if you zoomed out to the week, what do you think the bull market top's going to be?
About $250,000 for a Bitcoin, $250,000
Okay.
to 266K. I had a chart I did for that. I don't think I have it saved anymore.
And that could hit from anywhere between 2024 to 2025, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would think, you know, if you stick with the 4-year cycle, I would think probably late 2025 makes the most sense. I had a chart. Do I have it saved? No, I don't think so. I had a chart that I actually inscribed on one of my dual inscriptions as the cursed inscription on the backside. That's like a chart with the 250K target. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. If I can find the scenario Yeah, I think that's it right there. So basically, and we're at a critical level even on this range. So like this like green like midpoint is kind of the decision point. The fact that we're above it is pretty bullish, kind of guarantees this. If it can hold above this, it sort of guarantees this first target zone of 70 to 80K. And then this 247K to 263K would be the
Wow.
target. So we'll see, man. But the caveat there is this green line is kind of the line in the sand. If we fall back through that, then this bottom bid zone here from that we just we only hit the top of it, goes right down to that 11K that I mentioned before. So something that would really be crazy is if this broke, if we lost that support and we went down to here on some black swan and then go nuts and go,
Well, black swan would have to be something like pretty significant, because
It could
I feel like
honestly just be us going to war with Iraq,
Iraq,
Yeah.
Iran, maybe.
Oh, Iran.
Yeah.
Iran, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, that definitely would, scare the markets, all markets, but like maybe like a denial of all ETFs, and it was like a psyop the entire time would maybe do something. But we've gone through so many black swans the past year and a half. I feel like Bitcoin is like a beaten up, like, I don't know, like almost kind of like a, I don't know, like a MMA fighter that's gone through so much. Right?
Yeah. Or like Michael Myers just
Keeps coming up. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I mean, it's wild, right? Because I mean, even this stuff recently with Binance, right? I mean, I think CZ kind of saved it by jumping on that grenade. But that was sort of one of the looming potential black swans in my mind, at least. Binance being shut down or some major fine like they paid, but it kind of ended up being nothing, right? It's wild to think that he's likely going to jail, and I think it was not that, it was, I forget exactly when it was, but you guys know that guy Crypto Cobain. He's like a real crypto Twitter OG. Maybe a year or longer, there was like a joke where he had put some encrypted message that said Interpol has a warrant for CZ's arrest, and it made like the whole, like when someone decoded it, it made the whole market crash like crazy. And then we have actually legit charges brought against CZ and Binance, and it really didn't have a major effect.
Not at all. Yeah.
Not anywhere near what that sort of joke rumor did. So it's almost as if people expected that and it's priced in, and then they're surprised that they were able to pay the fine, and then that he just stepped down, and so it's not the company taking the fall, So yeah, I mean, in terms of a black swan that could do it, it's hard to predict, right? Like when you look back at like the previous black swans, the COVID crash, FTX, it's like I saw evidence of the market turning in the chart, but there's no way I would have known that's what either of those was what it was going to be. I never would have predicted that for either of those things. So who knows? It could be something like Tether imploding, Coinbase, something with Coinbase, USDC. Who knows? I do worry a little bit about like the lending type of instruments that we're seeing starting to get rolled out. As nice as it is when things are going up, I think that type of financial instrument built trying to use crypto, these volatile assets, even Bitcoin being one of the more stable of them, having these lending instruments built around volatile assets is super dangerous, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I feel weird. I feel weird saying it because I don't want to like FUD projects that are doing this, because it is cool. DeFi is very interesting, but it's just, like Liquidium is great, right? While things are going up, it's fantastic because both the lenders and the borrowers are in a great spot. But if the market's turning and everything's going down, what incentive does the borrower have to pay back the loan? And then the person who lended it out and now is holding that ordinal that's going down in price, why wouldn't they just floor it and floor it, and everybody else is flooring it, floor it. You could sort of see, it doesn't take too much imagination to see how that situation could turn bad and become like a contagion type thing.
Yeah.
It's, even though it's peer to peer and it's not centralized like Celsius or Genesis or those other things we saw sort of fall apart a couple years ago. It's still good.
You saw it with the Bored Apes.
Yeah.
Was Blur was offering lending for Bored Apes, I think, and
I believe so. Yeah.
people couldn't pay him back, and Blur was just flooring them, and it's a chain reaction at that point.
Exactly. And that's one thing that potentially could go bad if there's just a little bit of, like, it could be not even a crazy, because like emotions are really what drive these things, right? And that's what drives all markets more than the math or the money or whatever. So you could see a scenario where there's just a temporary downturn in the market that, wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
But you've got all this sort of collateralized stuff going on and people panicking because of these loans or whatever. And you could see it just escalate and make things way worse. I mean, I hope
100%.
that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But these sort of complex financial instruments are great in a bull market when everything's up only. Stuff like Lunaterra and all these things that blew up are great when everything's going up. But as soon as things are going down, it really starts to, the house of cards starts to fall apart. So that's one thing I'm a little bit worried about. It's like really smart people come up with these things, and it can be dangerous when really smart people are coming up with ideas because they can kind of think they're smarter than they really are, that they can outsmart just like the craziness of markets in general, especially crypto markets. So
100%. That is the reason we fell so hard, was because one black swan after another started with Luna, but FTX was involved with a lot of that in terms of the house of cards falling. I don't think we're there. I think there was a lot of PTSD from that in the industry. But I think like greed is what caused that, and that greed is cyclical, right? In terms of where when people are making money, they always want more.
They feel invincible too. So like so you get people like the whole thing with FTX, like it's wild. Like people sort of like try and laugh about it and be like, how could you lose money when you have your trading accounts on God mode and they can't be liquidated? Well, the liquidation would have, if they had been able to get liquidated on their accounts, it would have actually saved them, because they wouldn't have been able to run up these, multi-billion-dollar negative P&Ls. So it's like, again, that's these really smart kids thinking that they can just, we'll set it up so we won't get liquidated and we'll be fine. But no, because now you have basically an unlimited debt that you're going to owe. Versus having it normal checks and balances in place. But
man,
we'll see, man.
So 268 or 11, right? So 268,000 or 11.
Both. Why not both, man?
All right, Shaman, man, it's been absolutely amazing. We really appreciate your time. I know it's real early on a Sunday for you, but thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
For sure. And, you're always welcome on the show. As you know, we're all base members, and we're familiar with each other and stuff. So you're always welcome back. And we, like Shizzy said, we appreciate it. And we look forward to the next time having you on.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, anytime.
All right. Take
See
it
you, man.
easy.
Later, guys.
So that was fun. It was
Yeah.
really awesome, dude. It was, yeah. I love it. It was either 268, 11. You know, it's like it was cool.
Yeah.
I do enjoy watching TA. I'm not a big TA guy. I'm not a trader, but I do love being you know, it's really smart people really breaking it down for me.
Yeah, I think I like his approach to it, saying, "Hey, look, this is just like plotting out a possible forecast, but you can't fall in love with that, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to realize that to be successful in trading is has to do more with discipline and sticking to your strategy rather than uh, your pride getting in the way, saying, I know I'm right, I'm no right, because that will cause you to lose much more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
really
Yep. And
cool.
you can't really make it like emotional decisions. It really has to be thought out, like he said. So, yeah. All right, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like for us. Please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon. We appreciate you guys. And you cannot watch, you can definitely listen. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. And yeah. So we got a really good week coming up this week. So just look out for that. And yeah. Anything?
Yep. Just heading into the last week and into Christmas. It's gonna be we'll see what happens here in the Ordinal BRC20 space and Bitcoin layer ones, but I'm actually really excited to see what happens tomorrow, because we just had a bunch of energy kind of rise up in the space, and just trying to see how it responds, with
100%.
this fresh week. But yeah, I appreciate it. We appreciate all you guys. We do have our members group, so check that out if you're interested. You can join. If not, no worries. It just gives you a little bit more insight into Shizzy and Yagobi's mindset, where we're doing with our where our mind is in the space. So, but yeah, that's
Yep.
pretty much it.
See you guys.
Peace.